My physical TBR has been getting so out of hand recently, probably because I've been on a book buying spree. But after realizing I have zero space for new books on my TBR shelves, I decided to go through all the books that I own and that I haven't read yet and plan what I will read next, what I will read soon or not very soon. Here right next to me, I made different piles for the books that I own. I tried separating it in kind of genres, but I'm not sure which genres some of these books are. But these are the categories or the way I try to separate them at what I know they are or what I think they might be. And looking at the giant piles, I think I'll start by the shortest one, which is the mysteries and thrillers. I only have 5 books here, and most of them are actually sequels. They are the sequels to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. The first one is Good Girl, Bad Blood. Then we have As Good as Dead and Killjoy, all by Holly Black, the same author of the Good Girl's Guide series, which is something that makes sense, considering these are the sequels to the books. These are actually quite recent purchases, but the 2 other books in this category, they have been in my list for over a year. The first one is Leosa de la Principessa by Alessia Cazzola. This is an Italian book that I never get to reading it. One of the reasons being that I know this is a sequel to a series I have never read, but I accidentally bought it thinking it was just a standalone. I hope I can read it as a standalone, otherwise I will be way too lost. And the other book I just didn't get to it, even though I still think it seems like a very interesting book. It is The Silent Patient, and I hope to read it soon because it just seems interesting. I think I'll put these books here in piles on the different genres, I think. So let's put the mystery and thrillers here, which they are a bit hidden, but they will appear a bit more after we get through the piles. Next pile, I think we can go for the second largest pile, which is the non-fiction. And I can't take it all at once from this giant pile here, otherwise it will fall in my head. So let's take it by sections. And it is a very heavy pile also. Very heavy. The first book in this pile is On Freedom by Maggie Nelson. I actually won this at a giveaway at a bookstore, and apparently this is a collection of essays by Maggie Nelson on topics relating to freedom. I am interested in this book, but I'm not sure if it is as high a priority for me at the moment as some of the others. Then we have L'Empire de l'éphémère by Giles Lipovetsky. I'm not sure if the works from this author they were ever translated to English, because the first time I did this video I couldn't find these books in English. As you can tell, this book has been on my TBR for over a year. I still want to read it, but I'm not sure where I'll fit it in my reading schedule, or I don't know. I am actually very much of a mood reader, so maybe one day I'll be in the mood, one day soon, hopefully, because I need to read this book. Then we have The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates, also in my TBR for over a year. Then we have this one, which honestly I haven't read because I'm kind of intimidated by it, because it's very long and it is non-fiction, so it will take a while to read. It is long, it is kind of heavy, but the cover is beautiful. Look at the cover. It is Women Who Runs with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and this is a book about the myths and histories of the wild woman archetype. And talking about books that I'm intimidated, probably one of the heaviest books in my TBR, The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. I have this book for many years, I think 3-4 years maybe, and I never read it because I'm intimidated and it is very long. My version is separated into different books, and again, they are very heavy. Then we have The Beauty Myth, How Images of Women Are Used Against Women by Naomi Wolf. I have an updated version. Again, it's been in my TBR for many years, I think 3 years now. I remember buying it because it was a bestseller. I saw quite a few people in my bubble reading it, and I bought it both for the FOMO but also because the topic, it just seemed interesting to me. But it's my TBR for so long and I need to get to it soon, because why do I keep buying so many books if I'm not going to read them? I think I can pick this whole rest of the pile in one go. It's very heavy. It's very heavy. Then we have Vogue on Coco Chanel, and this is a non-fiction about Coco Chanel, telling the stories and talking about Coco Chanel's style. Remaining on the fashion realm, we have this one. Let me check the name. L'esthétisation du monde, vivre à l'âge du capitalisme artiste by Giles Lipovetsky and Jean Serroy. When I did the first video, I didn't find any of these books to be translated to English. If they are, I'll write it here, but I don't know. But the only languages I'm sure this book are available is French, because that's the original language it was written at, and Portuguese, which is the version I have. And it is a non-fiction about the world being so focused on aesthetic and how it is to live as an artist, as a fashion person in a capitalist era. Then we have A Moda Imita a Vida, Como Costurar uma Marca de Moda by Andrea Carvalhal. This is a Brazilian book on fashion and how fashion imitates life, and also on my TBR for over a year, and I haven't read it. I remember the same time I bought this book was the same day I bought this one, which is Battle of Versailles by Robin Given. This is talking about the famous fashion battle in Versailles, and I was interested in reading more, but it's been over a year. It's still in my TBR. Hopefully I get to it soon. I have one more fashion book, so let's put it first in the list. This one I got it for my birthday this year, and it is The Costume History by Auguste Racinet. And as the name would suggest, it tells you the story of garments, and it is a very beautiful book that you can easily wear as a coffee table book. Probably many people buy it for it to be a coffee table book. I bought it because I want to read it. The next 3 books, they are all recommendations from my mom. 2 of them are originally hers, and she gave it to me to read over a year ago. Have I read them? No. The first one is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. She gave me 2 versions of this book. The first one was almost 10 years ago. I have never read it. So she gave me the shorter version like 5 years ago. I haven't read it. And then I saw some people say not that great things about this author, and then I also read another book by this author, and did I love it? No. But I guess I should read because my mom gifted me. But do I want to read it? Not much. Another book she gave me was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I think this might be a very fast read, but for some reason I just don't do it. Then we have Quiet by Susan Cain, and you can tell that this has been over a year in my TBR because the cover is that material that catches every single dust that touches it, so you can tell it's dusty, and I can clean it because the thing is glued to the cover. But yeah, Quiet by Susan Cain. It is a book apparently that tells you how great it is to be an introvert, and I'm an introvert. So she gave it to me. Have I read it? No. Hopefully I read soon, because the next books I chose them myself. My Friend Anna by Rachel DeLoach Williams. This is the book which was one of the sources for the Inventing Anna TV series from Netflix. I really enjoyed that series, and I've kind of been fascinated about Anna ever since, so I got the book when I saw it for sale. I bought it. Do you think this pile will fall on me? Because I really hope it doesn't, because I don't want to get hurt. These next 2 books, my mom paid for them, but I chose them. And then she surprised me by deciding to pay it behind my back. But thank you, Mom. The first one is L'Occupation by Annie Ernaux. I'll put the name in English if I find it. And the other is Hotel Casanova, also by Annie Ernaux. And I bought it in French when I saw the books in French. And they didn't cost a vital organ. Yeah, I got it. The final to last book in this pile is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Jeanette played an important part in my childhood by being on iCarly. So when this book came out, I first watched a bunch of reviews, and after a year I was still very curious about the book and about reading the book. So I recently got this one, and hopefully I'll read soon because I'm just so curious and I really want to read this book. And the last book in Spile is this one by Helena Ferrante. I'm not sure what the name is in English. I have a Portuguese version. I'll write it in the screen. And that's it for non-fiction. Should we go towards the second biggest pile? It is the fantasy slash sci-fi-esque pile. This is another one I will need to be taking it by pieces, because otherwise it will follow me and I will get hurt. Also, it's definitely very heavy. The first three books, they are all by Verne. I'm not sure what the name is in English of this one. It's probably something like 20,000 feet underground. I'll write here. I bought it because I like this cover. I like sci-fi and I was interested in this book. And it's been in my TBR for around a year. This one is not one I want to prioritize. I was just so curious, and since I found a copy I thought it would be beautiful, I bought it at the time just to, one day read it. In the same vibe, we have Around the World by 80 Days, and then we have 5 Weeks in a Balloon, and they are all from the same collection. And I just thought these covers would be beautiful. I think they're prettier in person than they are on camera, but one day I'll read them and I'll have a pretty copy. Let's put here the second pile in front of the non-fiction. Then we have two more contemporary. This one I put it here because what I read about it seemed to fit the category, but I'm not sure if I should put it maybe in romance. It is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab, and it's been also on my TBR for over a year, even though I'm curious about the book. I've been wanting to read it and trying to prioritize for a while, but I never get to it. A more recent purchase was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I heard great things about it, so I decided to try out fantasy and this book. Then we have 5 books, and this one I'm putting all my faith that the book talk is right and the books are great, and that I will enjoy it as much as I did enjoy the series. And it is the 3 books from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. The names are Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. The box was on sale, so I got it because I'm putting all my faith that I will enjoy these books as much as I enjoyed the series. I had so much fun watching it, so I hope I have as much fun reading the books. And because I like the series and I like the girls, and Book Talk is always talking about it, I caught the duology of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I'm putting all my faith on Book Talk. And to finish the pile of speculative fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, we have 1K84 by Haruki Murakami, another book that has been on my TBR for at least 3 years, and it's a very long book because I got the 3 books in one and still want to catch it, but I don't know when I'll catch it. I think I'll make it maybe a priority because it's been just so long on my TBR. But the next one is a more recent purchase. It is Foundation by Isaac Asimov. It is a classic sci-fi and it takes place in the Galactic Empire, and it just seemed interesting. Oh, you can see I have snacks behind me. Let's take off the snacks from behind me. Going back to the classics, we have A Clockwork Orange, also in my TBR for a while, and I don't know when I'll read it. But going back to recent purchases, we have Fox by Christina Dauscher. This is a dystopia, and it takes place in a world where women can only talk 100 words per day. It seems terrifying, Then we have Sisters of the Revolution. This is a feminist anthology of speculative fiction that was organized by Anne Vandermeer and Jeff Vandermeer, and it just seems so interesting. This, again, it's a very recent purchase. Another recent purchase, but an old book. It is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The next biggest bio is this one, which is classics, but I think I'll leave this one for last. Let's go for the rom-coms. And this is a genre I've been enjoying more lately. So all of these books are actually quite recent purchases. The first one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Book Talk loves this book and I enjoyed Beach Read, and I am a book lover. It seemed natural for me to pick this up. Then we have The American Roommate Experiment. This is the accompanying or intertwined novel with The Spanish Love Deception, both by Elena Armas. I read The Spanish Love Deception a year ago, I believe, and I remember enjoying it, so I decided to pick this one to try it out. Then we have Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I just saw so many people talking about it and I was curious, and now it seems interesting. Also, I believe this is the old cover because apparently they are changing, but this cover is beautiful. Look at it. One book I wanted to read for quite some time, but a recent purchase is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Maybe I'll read this one soon because it seems like a fitting read because this book is actually inspired by Schitt's Creek and I'm currently rewatching Schitt's Creek. Next one in this list is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is a college romance novel. Then we have The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and It Starts With Us by Colin Hoover. This one is the sequel to It Ends With Us. And the last two books in this pile are both by Lynn Painter. It is Mr. Wrong Number and The Do-Over. Now let's go to what I believe would be more of a literary fiction, but I'm not sure. I could be easily wrong. First we have Diorama by Carol Ben-Simon. This is a Brazilian novel that in the cover says romance, but I don't know. I put it in this pile, okay? But probably is a romance, as the cover would suggest. The second book in this pile is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. Bought it a while ago, but then I saw some not very flattering reviews, and I'm gonna be honest, that made this book to be not as much a priority in my TBR as it once was. Next two books in this pile are both Taylor Jenkins read. It is Malibu Rising and Carrie Soto is back. I want to read them soon, but not necessarily the biggest priorities in my TBR. This one was a big priority in my TBR, but for some reason I just didn't read it. And now has been a year that it has been in my TBR. It is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I still think this cover is beautiful and I like the color and I want to read it. Where's so good? I think I'll put it on top of romance? No. Because if I put it on top of romance, it will fall. So I put it with the thrillers. The next book in this pile is actually my mom's, and it's been also my TBR for over a year and I need to read it and give it back to her. It is El Tiempo Entre Costuras by Maria Duenas. I'll put the name in English here because I'm not sure what the name in English is. And it is about a seamstress that lives during the Spanish Civil War, and yeah, seems interesting. This one actually was, I found a surprise bookmark inside the book. Cool. The next book was also a gift for my mom, but I never saw it anywhere. It is Impression d'un voyage. Apparently it is a romance and it is in French / Portuguese, and I never saw this book ever, and it's been on my TBR. I was going to say 3 years, but it's been more because I remember her buying this before I was reading novels in French casually. So it's been, I think I was actually starting to learn French, which means this book has been in my TBR for over 5 years, at least. It's insane how fast time passes. Yet this one has also been in my TBR for a while. It is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. More Margaret Atwood. I remember this one has a very different name in English. I have the translated version. The Penelopiad. It's apparently a short story inspired by the Odyssey, and it's the story of Penelope. This one is called The Heart Goes Last, and I put it here, but I think it's a dystopia. So maybe wrong pile, but also maybe why haven't I read this book yet? The last two books in Spile, they are more recent purchases. One I received today, the day I'm filming the video, is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. And I don't know if this is a romance and I can put it into romance, or if this is just literary fiction. But it seemed interesting. Also, this cover is beautiful, let's be honest. And the last book, it is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. I read The No-Show this year by the same author. I loved it, so I needed to get another book by her. And this is also recent. And hopefully it will stay less than a year in my Physical TBR. Now, where do I put it? Because they're all here next to me. And since I'm already up, let's get the pile of classics. This one, it's a very heavy... They're about to follow me. Wait, put this on. How do I fix this? They're literally falling all over me. Don't kill me. Imagine you die and the reason you die is because of books. Because a pile of books fell over you. So where do we start? Let's do the longest one and the heaviest one. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. More than a year in my TBR. We have Othello by William Shakespeare. And should we go all the penguins? Let's do all the penguins at once. It is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Hopefully it will be good. And this one I was going to search together because it is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen and Emma by Jane Austen. This is another book, Emma, that has been in my TBR, not for one, not for two, but at least 5 years. Maybe more, because I remember that bookstore I bought it closed right before the pandemic. And if you're talking about old books, we cannot talk about Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I started reading this when I was in my second year of high school, which means I was 16, and I never finished. I am halfway through the book and I have never finished. This book has been on my TBR for almost 10 years. I don't know what it is more insane, the fact that this book has been in my TBR for almost 10 years, or that has been almost 10 years since I left school. Time flies, and I'm getting old. Another book, and this one that matches the same edition of my version of Jane Eyre. This one is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. Why did I get this book in English? I don't know, but I got it and I have it. And that's it. And taking the cue that Madame Bovary, it is a French classic, let's go through all the classics in French that I own. The English names for all the books will be written here. Les Fleurs du Mal by Baudelaire, La Dame aux Camélias by Dumas Fils, and then we have my Camus selection. Le Livre de Sisyphe, La Chute et La Peste. And staying in the same queue that these books were written by French authors or French-speaking authors, we have Robin Hood and The Nutcracker, both by Dumas. And I remember getting these versions because I thought the covers were pretty. Also, there are more recent additions to my TBR, which it's great. Another recent addition to my TBR is Heidi by Heidi by this author. The next book is one I wanted to read for so long, but I never managed to do it because I remember the book always being sold out. And then I finally got to buy the book and have it so I can read it. Did I read it? No. Has it been more than 1 year? Yes, it is The Blue Aside by Toni Morrison. The next book is one I'm not sure how to really pronounce the name. It is Keep the Ace by Dice Train Flying by George Orwell. And please tell me how to pronounce his name because I have no idea how to pronounce. And the last book to show you today in my TBR is from one of my favorite authors, and for some reason also for almost a year or over a year in my TBR, To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. And I think this copy is beautiful. This is my physical TBR and that I need to read, and maybe I should go on a book buying ban so I have a chance to read all these books in a year. Even though this is only the physical TBR, we also have the Kindle TBR, which I'm not including in this video because otherwise it will be tomorrow and I'm still rambling about all the books I have to read and all the books I bought and I haven't read. And this is not counting the ones on Kindle Unlimited.